Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Alyeska Pipeline Service Company, sustaining Alaska's pipeline and its operations today and into the future.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. On the satellite imagery, a lot of clouds here from the Gulf of Alaska up and over the interior, kind of breaks up through here, and pretty fair up in the north and northwest part of the state, and then some clouds shifting northwestward there along the southeast coast with some shower activity mostly off the coast there and just some widely scattered isolated stuff inland. And then you get into the clear skies down to the south there where the warmest temperatures in the state occurred this afternoon. And then a lot of clouds here into Bristol Bay and rain-producing clouds out over the Pribilof Islands there, and then a few showers working their way back down toward the eastern Aleutians in that area, and more moisture streaming up to the Alaska Peninsula, and it breaks out here over the Aleutians. Pretty dry conditions, some scattered showers out toward Shemya, but pretty light winds, and also a few flurries here coming through the Bering Strait down toward St. Lawrence Island today, riding in on those north and northeasterly winds of 20 to 30 miles an hour, and even windier conditions on the eastern Arctic coast where they were out of the east 20 to 30 miles an hour. Barter Island seeing gusts 45 to 50 miles per hour today, but lighter winds off to the west. Here's that low close to the Alaska Peninsula there, and that's spreading some more rain up toward that area. Otherwise just clouds here in Bristol Bay. Areas of rain over the Pribilofs all day long today. That's going to begin to pull back, and hopefully it'll taper off later this evening. Scattered showers of that weak low out over the western Aleutians. And also moisture streaming northwestward here brought the cloudy skies into Prince William Sound, into the Copper River Basin, Cook Inlet, with shower activity here over Prince William Sound, southern Kenai Peninsula, working in toward northern Cook Inlet. Some very light shower activity late this afternoon, and then some scattered stuff over the Copper River Basin. Otherwise, pretty good down the southeast coast, especially over the southern areas. And for tonight, this system here coming northward will move to about this position as 984 millibar center there, and the front will come northward, so that's going to push in across the southern panhandle later tonight, and then toward morning push inland to begin to weaken, so rain will spread northward with that and back to the west, probably to Yakutat, cutting off around Cordova. So the showers currently over south central Alaska, Prince William Sound, those will taper off this evening and tonight and end in advance of this next system. The rain chances increase once again over the southern Kenai Peninsula and on down across Kodiak Island. Isolated showers there for the peninsula. Pretty light wind conditions here, Bristol Bay on up toward Nunivak Island, as well as the interior. Just partly to mostly cloudy skies here from the Alaska Range all the way up to the North Slope. Looks like some patchy fog over the North Slope and mainly over the eastern Arctic coast. And those northeast breezes continue here through the Bering Strait to St. Lawrence Island, but much lighter winds down over the southern Bering Sea. This next system here will bring a chance of rain in toward the central Aleutians, specifically Atka, late tonight. And then we'll see tomorrow. That low center pretty stationary right there, and the front weakens, but looks like a pretty rainy day for Kodiak, and then a weakening front here pushing up to the North Gulf Coast. That'll bring a band of precipitation narrowing in time there, but looks pretty wet for Prince William Sound, Whittier, all the way over to Yakutat. Still periods of rain over the northern southeast coast, changing over to showers and tapering off throughout the afternoon with some partial clearing down there around Heidelberg, Craig, Kloak, and those areas. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, Copper River Basin and the eastern interior. Better chance of some sunshine over the western and north part of the state. And dry here over the eastern Bering Sea. Look for maybe some clearing here. High pressure in between the two systems here over the Alaska Peninsula. So light winds tomorrow. And again, maybe some sunshine, but this front brings periods of rain and breezy conditions into the eastern Aleutian areas. Dry, but mostly cloudy for the Pribilofs with light winds. Showers for Adak and Atka, and those become less as you get out towards Shemya. Outlook for Sunday, some moisture, leftover moisture here begins to pull back to the west, and so that'll bring a chance of rain from Copper River Basin, Prince William Sound, in across northern Cook Inlet, Madanuska Valley, maybe the southern Susitna Valley during the day on Sunday, especially in the afternoon, with shower conditions extending down to Kodiak Island, as well as the Alaska Peninsula. And this low center here in that trough should be partly to mostly cloudy, a few scattered showers for the Panhandle, and then this system will pull back to the west, and on Sunday night, early Monday, a pretty good trough will swing across south central Alaska as an easterly wave. Otherwise, pretty fair. Clouds, Tanana Valley, again to the north, a little bit more clearing there to the north slope, and dry for the Arctic coast. Also, much lighter winds in that area, but probably still holding on to some maybe small craft advisories. Actually, I think they got 20 knots out of the east there for the eastern coastline for Sunday. And out here, all this moisture and showers way out over the western Bering Sea on down across Shemya. And then some moisture here along this trough axis. Again, Atka over to about Nikolsky. Look for periods of rain and fog. Scattered showers on Alaska and the Alaska Peninsula. Bristol Bay, partly sunny. And temperatures this afternoon across the southeast coast, early to mid-afternoon readings here, not the highs. We had 65 in Kloak, 58 Heidelberg, 61 at Metlakatla, 68 over at Stewart, and they at least reached 72 later on. 58 in Juneau, 50 degrees Elfin Cove, Sitka 55, Yakutat at 52. Mid-upper 40s, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound. Lower to mid-50s here, south central Alaska. More in the mid-50 range for the Susitna Valley. Gulkana 49, 52 over at Northway, 56 at Delta, with Fairbanks up to 58 degrees. Into the 40s there to the west. Up to the north, Fort Yukon came in with 37 this afternoon. Arctic Village is 28. 30 at Anatuvik. Bettles there up to 42. And chilly teens there for the north slope with Umiat Airfield at 15, 13 New Exit, but the mid-20s for both Dead Horse and Kaktovik. 20 degrees even over at Barrow, and down to 13 though at Point Lay. Upper 20s to upper 30s here, depending on where you were over the northwest interior, with Ambler at 43. Down at McGrath, they came in with 49 degrees today, and then heading out west, that 50-degree reading was reported at St. Mary's, with St. Michael at 41, Nome 47, chillier here at Wales, Tin City 23, 27 there at Savunga, and Bethel up to 55. Out along the coast there, upper 30s for the Yukon Delta and the Kuskokwim Delta coast, looking at mid to upper 40s, right around 40 for the Pribilofs. Lower to mid-40s here for the Alaska Peninsula, cooling off down into the upper 30s, Adak on out west. And for the lows tonight, 40s to near 50 here for the southeast coast, and mid-30s to lower 40s for southern Alaska, Kodiak Island. Mostly in the 30s out over the west and southwest interior. Tanana Valley, 25 to 35 or so in that area, and of course into the teens for the North Slope and Arctic coast, lower 20s for St. Lawrence Island. Highs for tomorrow, lower to mid-20s there for the Arctic coast and North Slope areas, and then into the mid-30s for the Brooks Range. South of the mountains, 40s, warm into the lower 60s for the Tanana Valley, and 55 to 60-ish there for the Kuskokwim Valley on down into northeast Bristol Bay, and Susitna Valley could reach 60 degrees in some areas tomorrow. Otherwise 50s, with the southeast coast cooler, with that front swinging through, so it looks like highs in the mid-50s for that area, lower 40s out west in the Bering and Aleutians. Flying weather for tomorrow morning with that front rolling in, IFR from Dixon Entrance right up along the coastline there, pushing in toward Yakutat, but staying south of Prince William Sound, coming back around to the east side of Kodiak Island. VFR for much of the interior until you get up to the Arctic coast, and pretty good all the way out to the coastline there with IFR from the Bering Strait down into the northern Bering Sea, and another patch there south of the central Aleutians. For tomorrow afternoon, looking at marginal VFR, Kodiak Island, Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast, and the southeast coast, again that improving from south-southwest to north-northeast throughout the day, so it could become VFR actually late tomorrow afternoon there, Prince of Wales Island up towards Sitka. Otherwise, VFR for much in the interior with possible marginal VFR over the north slope, but the Brooks Range will stay VFR. Pass-wise, Anaktuvuk, VFR, both approaches, same thing for Adigan. Lake Clark and Merrill, good VFR tomorrow, same thing for Rainy. Windy VFR, Isabel VFR. VFR also in the forecast from Mentasta. Tanita VFR, that may go marginal though for Sunday. And for Portage, starting out VFR, but probably mid-morning on, things will become marginal. Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR. Freezing levels show 2,000 feet here near St. Matthew Island, up across Koyuk and through the southern upper Yukon Valley areas. 4,000 feet covering the Tanana Valley down into the Gulf of Alaska. 6,000 feet here over the southeast coast, and we got 2,000 feet extending westward there into the central Bering Sea. And for icing, looks something like this with the system coming northward. Tomorrow, look for icing here from the central Aleutians over to possibly as far west as Cold Bay, and also Kodiak Island, up across the Kenai Peninsula, portions of Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound, eastward there, and coming through down across the southeast coast. For the upper level wind flow, the main jet here across the Pacific, about 120 to 130 knots, splits right in this area, one branch coming back up toward the northwest there along the Panhandle at about 80 knots, continued easterly flow across southern Alaska and the central Bering Sea, and a pretty good ridge here over western Canada. For the 9,000 foot winds, pretty light, but northeasterlies at about 30 knots for the western Gulf Coast down across Kodiak Island. Very light winds here, especially Tanana Valley down toward the Copper River Basin, and the North Gulf Coast is 5 to 10 knots. Light winds also over the Panhandle. And the stronger winds off the coast to the north of the Arctic coast tomorrow. Northeasterlies 20 to 25 here through the Bering Strait in the northern Bering Sea. And then that larger low there centered south of Adak and Atka. Only 20 to 25 knots coming around that out of the southeast. Easterlies at about the same speed. And north to northeast 15 to 25 out over the Aleutians. 3,000 foot winds, again showing the stronger band from the St. Lawrence Island area across the northern and northwest Bering Sea. Otherwise looking 10 to 20 to 25 knots there for the Aleutians. Not too bad. Lighter winds under this ridge there for the Alaska Peninsula and Bristol Bay, but northeasterlies coming up to 35 knots there for Kodiak Island, 25 knots just south of Sand Point. Interior, though, basically east or east-northeast, but quite light, just 5 to 10 knots. And again, the stronger winds along and north of the Arctic coast there up to 30 knots with very light wind conditions there across the Panhandle, but increase dramatically here as you get off to the southwest there, closer to that low center. And for turbulence, look for light to isolated moderate chop here, southern Kenai Peninsula down across Kodiak Island, and also eastern Arctic coast, turbulence free on the west side. And then there could be some turbulence here through the Bering Strait to most of St. Lawrence Island, pretty smooth through all of interior Alaska, the Alaska Peninsula, and maybe some light to isolated moderate chop here from Atka over to Dutch Harbor. And after the break of Hangar Flying, I'll be back to look at the marine forecasts.
Good evening. evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. We'd like to thank Alaska Public Media for allowing us to bring you hangar flying. We are pleased to have Alan Carpenter back on our show. Alan is the owner and operator of Alaska Flying Adventures, a relatively new flight school located in South Central Alaska. Welcome back, Alan.
Well, thank you, Mary. Appreciate it.
So last time we talked a little bit about the flight school, but this session I'd like to focus on the flying that you'll be doing. The type of clients that you're looking for, would they be local Alaskan pilots or pilots from the outside?
Both, actually. There's three target groups that we have, and certainly the local community from Anchorage, from the valley, from Wasilla, Palmer, or anywhere within a large radius down on the Kenai Peninsula. We welcome everybody from Alaska to please come and visit us and experience this wonderful world that we have to offer, as well as people from the lower 48, people outside that are coming up on vacation, book a few days with us to get their float plane ratings. And we actually specialize in targeting airline pilots who are coming up on layovers. Within 2 or 3 at the most layovers, they're able to get the experience, including the check ride taken care of, and go away with a single engine C added onto their pilot certificate.
On our last show, we talked a little bit about a book and some study materials that you make available to pilots before they actually show up at training. Does that help with shortening the time frame that they can expect to be here, or what are you looking at for amount of time that a person should expect?
It certainly does. The book that you're speaking of is How to Fly Floats by Kenmore Air Edo Corporation, and it's a very short read. The float plane rating itself is actually fairly simple. There's not a whole lot of area to be covered. Takeoffs and landings and so forth. But this book would be sent to them in advance. They would study it, and then when they come here, now they'll be able to spend more time relaxing between flights, possibly fishing off of our dock or going boating on Visnaw Lake, or enjoying their time here out by Lake Hood.
I'd like to add a comment about a discount that you had mentioned. The Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, as well as the Alaska Airmen's Association, are entitled to discounts for float ratings, correct?
Yes, absolutely. A 10% discount is offered to all of those. So we encourage people contact both organizations, become members, and enjoy the benefits of those organizations. And as a reward, then they're certainly welcome to come and fly with us and reap the benefit as well.
Thank you for that. We really appreciate somebody supporting our organization, as well as allowing them to benefit from some added safety knowledge and things that they might be aware of flying floats that they wouldn't be otherwise flying wheels. Can you tell us some reasons and some options for pilots that aren't necessarily looking to add a float rating, but why they might want to book some time with you?
Oh, absolutely. Gosh, the list is long. Flight reviews. In lieu of a flight review, first of all, come up and get an add-on float plane rating. That is the most fun. That would be my suggestion there. If you're already float plane rated, okay, you've already got your single engine C, come up and get some recurrency. Believe me, a year goes by and we all get rusty. What a great opportunity to come up in the most beautiful place in the country and fly here in Alaska. Experience, if you need to get insurance qualifications for that dream bush job, flying out in the bush or for a lodge or somebody, we offer the 185, of course, is a great airplane. That experience will help you build Alaska float time towards getting that job or maintaining that status. Just fun, just plain fun. Come out and take a scenic tour. There's many things to benefit from.
Do you think that learning to fly floats makes pilots safer?
Oh, without a doubt. I first learned how to fly floats back in 1987, and I was just amazed first of all, how much fun it was, how enjoyable it was, but the flying at a low level, taking off and landing in unimproved areas, I mean, my gosh, you could be anywhere. And yet there are some unique scenarios that one needs to be aware of in terms of terrain or obstacles and performance.
Or wind, exactly.
Absolutely. So it's an exciting challenge, not a difficult one, but one that needs to be thought about in order to do it safely.
So again, I'd like to help people find you. You have a website?
Yes, yes, it's alaskaflyingadventures.com. And you can go on our website and look at the drop-down menus. There'll be information explaining various aspects of what we do, as well as calling at 907-202-6402. And that'll ring to me or my son, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. That's probably the best way, is one-on-one, and answer any questions and explain the operation to people and book with them.
And we should also expect to see you at the Great Alaska Aviation Gathering as well.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, we have a booth there. We're excited. I think it's number 116, right across from Horizon Air. So I'll be looking forward to that.
Thank you, Alan. Good luck with the new business, and we wish you a busy summer with lots of sunny days for float flying.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've learned something, and we hope to see you at the Great Alaska Aviation Gathering. Please stop by and say hello to both of our booths. Until next time, fly safely.
Welcome back. Looking at today's sea ice analysis, the heaviest ice here bearing straight down to the north side of St. Lawrence Island, extending back and down to the east there, and then southwest to St. Matthew Island, actually a fair ways to the south of the island there. And over the next 4 or 5 days, we'll continue easterly flow. The heavier ice here expected to shift westward 15 to 30 nautical miles. And this area of heavy ice over western Norton Sound kind of in place there, but once this out here to the west shifts farther out, then this will be able to move out of the area. Otherwise, the eastern sound there, central and eastern Norton Sound, pretty open. So moving on to the marine forecast here, southerly winds 20 knots for most of the coastline, except up there to the north or southeasterly. Seas 8 to 11 feet. Southeast 20 for Clarence Strait. Southerly winds for Stevens Passage at 15 knots. And winds starting out north at 10 for Lynn Canal. Those will increase to 20 knots from the south there in the afternoon, with a trough of low pressure developing over the Yukon. That'll hold through Sunday as well, south 20 knots. Light southeasterlies here on down across Clarence Strait through the central inside waters. Southerlies 20 to 25 knots. Southeasterly small craft advisories here for the north coast, and seas running 13 to 15 feet. And moving west for the North Gulf Coast, small craft advisories for those east winds at 25. Prince William Sound, though, just northeast at 10, northeast 15 for northern Cook Inlet. Picks up to 25 knots down around Kachemak Bay. Northerlies at 25 knots for Shelikof Strait. Northeast winds at 30 here for the Barren Islands along the east side of Kodiak Island, actually all the way up to the western North Gulf Coast. And for Prince William Sound, east winds 15 for Sunday, and light northeasterlies there for northern Cook Inlet, gradually increasing as you head south to 20 knots for Kamishak Bay, northeast 30 for Shelikof Strait. Small craft advisories here for the east side of Kodiak Island, the Barrens, and the North Gulf Coast with 9 to 12 foot seas. Bristol Bay tomorrow, light westerlies at 10. Pick that up to about 15 here for the peninsula. South side, though, westerlies at 20. Small craft advisories there from Chignik to Sitkinak. And for the outlook on Sunday, those winds reverse direction and become easterly and increase. 25 to 30 knots for the peninsula, coming up to 20 knots for Bristol Bay, and 25 knots there southwest of Kodiak Island, with heaviest seas here 8 to 11 feet. And for the Fox Islands for tomorrow, south to southeast or south to east winds 20 to 25 knots. Small craft advisories here for the central Aleutians over toward Nikolsky. The northerly winds 20 to 25 there for the western Aleutians with 6 to 10 foot seas. And for Sunday, north 25, 11 foot seas out here to the west, and then northwest here as you approach Adak, but generally 15 to 25 knot winds here, with the strongest winds south of the islands there on Sunday afternoon. And we've got easterlies at 25, and in the case of the areas south of Unalaska Island, there'll be minimum gales at 35 with seas building to 15 feet. And for the southwest coast, light variable conditions here south of Nunivak Island for Kuskokwim Bay. Southeast 15 for the Pribilofs, increasing. Brisk wind or small craft advisories of St. Lawrence Island, as well as St. Matthew Island with seas at about 4 feet. And then for Sunday, still small craft advisories with these winds coming up to 30 knots there for the northern Bering Sea. Increase in the winds here south of Nunivak Island coming up to 25 knots, but seas just 4 feet. Easterlies at 25 for the Pribilofs with 9-foot seas. And up to the north along the Arctic coast, brisk wind advisories continue for one more day there on the east side, but drop off to 20 knots for the central coast, 15 knots here for the west side, Wales up to Cape Thompson north at 20. And then on Sunday, those northerlies at 20 knots bring it up to about Cape Beaufort there. Light northeasterlies there on the west side, and then 15 knots for the central coast, and just 20 knots now for the eastern Arctic coastal area. For tonight, could be some patchy fog up that way tonight, and still pretty breezy there on the east side, but generally just variable clouds here, mostly cloudy in a lot of areas though, all the way down to the North Gulf Coast, Cook Inlet area. Showers should end here this evening as this next front approaches, so rain will be swinging into the Panhandle later tonight. Rain chances increase there for Kodiak Island as well as the Aleutians. And for tomorrow, that front brings some wind and rain. Not too strong on the winds though, in toward the Unalaska area. And Kodiak Island looks wet as well as the North Gulf Coast, but this front is weakening and pushes through the Panhandle, kind of lingers in the north there. And then for Sunday, leftover moisture with that, probably a slide possibly into northern Cook Inlet. Have a great weekend.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.